I'm Terrell.
I'm Tieara.
I'm Tawan Tepper.
And together we are
Rewired.
But we're going to be talking about the hot button topics. We're going to be talking about the things you talk about in your home, the things you want to hear about. So today we're going to be tackling the topic of voting. We're going to be talking about our experiences with it, our likes and dislikes, our takeaways, and just what we felt during the process if we've already voted. Like I said, we are all real people. We actually live the things that we talk about. And like today, I voted today. So that was something that was fresh on my mind. And I feel like it's fresh on everybody's mind at this point in time. And the thing that I really took away from the voting process was just the politics behind the politics. Like I found myself in the voting line thinking about everything besides the fact that I was about to vote. I was questioning the validity of the process. I was reminded of a young lady who voted and then started receiving death threats, as if somebody was privy to the knowledge of the person she voted for. So I was questioning the privacy of the process. But it struck me that I was thinking about everything but who I was going to vote for and the fact that I was actually voting. So that was one of my major takeaways from it.
Well, I haven't voted yet. And the reason I haven't voted yet is because I feel like when you do early voting, you really don't know where that vote is going. Like, it's a lot of times where votes are being miscalculated, are being lost, and we just don't know. So my take from it is to vote on the day and to actually make sure that it's being confident. You know, it's not being put out there for people to see, because you just talk about that, like, that's crazy to me. You can really see if somebody is voting and who they voted for. Like, that should be a conflict of, like, interest or confidentiality, or some law should be with that. Like,
Yeah,
that's
definitely
crazy.
should be some governing bodies around it.
So I'm a vote. Mm-hmm. I am gonna vote. So y'all have to check and run it through the system. I promise you, I guarantee that I'm gonna vote November the 2nd.
Okay. So I voted today, and I've been having this conversation a lot about whether to vote or whether not to vote. And to me, I mean, I voted. Mm-hmm. I'm a Georgia voter. And for me, it's more of a why not situation. I've heard a lot of times people say the vote don't count, or that Trump is going to sabotage the vote some type of way, or it's going to be long lines. And that was none of those things were my experience. It was no lines. It was in and out. It was a 20-minute process from start to finish. So that was a situation that was not, there was a fear that was not even realized. The Trump sabotage thing, so many other things on the ballot to vote for. I mean, if Trump had some hidden agenda and he wanted to sabotage his end of the vote, I mean, there's so many other things that you can make the trip down there to vote for that are worthwhile. Like, my vested interest is police reform in the city the county that I live in. So I voted for the sheriff of that county because that's one of the things that's important to me.
Let me ask you this real quick. When you vote on election day versus early vote, how do you ensure that that's any different than the early vote process? Is it something that make you feel better about that process than the early vote process?
I just have heard bad things about early voters, really. I heard that even with the last election with Obama, a lot of votes were they were lost, or they said that they were miscalculated. I just don't want any type of difficulties going on with that. I want my vote to count. I want my vote to be in the system. I want them to see that I voted and that they don't have no time to do nothing with it. Like, even if they wanted to, I feel like election day is going to be a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
for the people who are working at these sites.
It's hard to lose something the day of, right?
Yeah. So
that makes sense. I mean, I think that they have more time for things to slip through the cracks with early voting.
especially mailing in your vote. You trust that?
Yeah, I don't really trust mail. I don't trust the mail process, period, because I know how many times I've mailed something that didn't get to its destination. So I don't trust the mail process, so I wouldn't do the absentee ballot or sending the vote in. But another thing I want to comment on as far as the stigma is concerned in our communities, I think a lot of people think that our votes aren't going to count or that we're voting on trivial matters when the grand scheme of things have already been decided. But at the same time, I think that we're looking at progress from our own lens. Like if things aren't exactly the way you want to be right now, and after the election they still the same as before the election, you still have to take a historical context. Like I'm sure Martin Luther King Jr. would see the progress in the way things are today versus his time. So I think
to start somewhere.
it had to start somewhere, and the system is definitely broken. But if we as individuals in the system change, then eventually the system itself will change.
Definitely. And here's the other part is I think the confusion comes in when voting is proposed as the sole solution to our problems. It's not the sole solution to our problems, but it is a step in the right direction. Voting is not going to change anything in itself. But if you vote and you get involved in your community and you educate yourself on the laws and stuff that you want to see changed, and you educate yourself on the process to get those things changed, to get the people in the office that's not, representing what you want to see change out of there, then that's the rest of the process. I think the main thing is you can't look at voting as the solution. You got to look at voting as a part of the solution. But this is one thing that I thought of when it comes to voting, and I think that it's one of those things I find myself kind of reverting back to what I was told as a kid. Like when you see a person begging for food on the side of the road or whatever, and you give them some money, and you don't know what they gonna do with this money, but in your heart of hearts, you thinking that they gonna go get some food. Now they might go and do something bad with the money, like get some drugs or something like that, but that's not on you.
Yeah.
Your part is to be human enough to appeal to what that person needs, empathize, and if that person takes that and do something, illegitimate with it, then that's on them, and as they cross the barrier, they're gonna have to answer for that in the long run, not you.
Yeah.
So same thing with voting. If you go, you cast your vote, it get lost, it get changed, it don't change the situation that you in, you don't feel like it, made a big difference, you still went and you made your voice heard. Right?
And you control what you can control. You know what I'm saying? And I think of it almost like almost in a working out standpoint. Like anything that you want to accomplish, you're going to have to put some work in and do some things that put yourself in a situation to deserve whatever the end goal is that you are seeking. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't done anything to make your opinion known, then what makes you think people is going to take your opinion into consideration when they're making a decision? You have not one time stood up to say, hey, this is what I believe. But at the end of the day, when decisions are being made, you mad because they didn't take your opinion into consideration.
And a lot of people's opinions are just being passed down through generations. Like one thing I learned, you have to really do your own research. You have to really learn about these candidates, these Congress members, like even to the senators, to the governors, everything. Like you have to do your own personal research. Don't go off of what your mom said, what your grandma said. Like really make sure this is a fit for you. Like you said, you ultimately doing your part. Just play your part as a citizen. And like we don't have any type of guarantee that the person that you select will be in office, but at least you know that you did what you could do and you stood for what you believe in. I feel like that, like you said, that's the main thing to everything as far as politics. Right, and that is a wrap. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you guys visit us and like, subscribe, and also give us any feedback y'all have for us about voting. And make sure y'all go vote because that's important.